Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans, welcome to Talking in Ovals. How's everybody doing out there on this Monday, November 25th of 2024 for episode number 115? I'm Alex, partner in crime as always over there is Dave. What's going on, my brother?
I got to say, usually I like to be out and about when the weekend comes, but this Saturday I was locked in, man. I was watching the NCAAs, and I think I have a new favorite athlete.
And yeah, I think a lot of people
Captain
do.
Samuel.
He kind of pulled a pre there and got
He
runner
did,
up in the
man.
pre moment with the shoe off.
One shoe from like 1 mile in. The dude gets second. I mean, you can't say whether he would have won or not because Blanks
Insane.
was awesome here, great. But man, what a performance!
To run 5 more miles with one shoe in crappy weather like that, like
Impressive,
it's
man.
ridiculous. Dedicated to the cause. Then I do
Love
have to ask you, are you
Yes.
still upset about Saturday about the Rutgers Illinois game?
Ugh, don't get me started.
I had to bring it up because you're a Rutgers guy, and I know all the
Shiano,
Rutgers faithful that watches it.
I mean, why ice him on the field goal and he missed it? I don't know, but
I mean, yeah, there's questions to be asked, but
there is.
we'll stick to running here. I'm
And
not going to get you on a tangent.
Congratulations to CBA with an
Oh my God.
absolutely amazing performance at the Nike regionals. I mean, they broke the course record again at Bowen Park. If there's a better team in the country out there, I'd like to see it, but we're going to find out. They're going to have to lace them up at Nats, but I mean, they are just rolling.
And Coach McCafferty, Coach Tortilla, if you're watching, there's a good spot right there, somewhere up there for that singlet. I don't care what size, because those singlets that you guys wore were some
those
of
are
the
fire, man.
coolest ones. And the fact that they got them custom singlets is incredible. So
cool.
Yeah, if either of you guys are listening, Dave could use some swag back there. So if you got 2 singlets, shoot us a message, send it our way. We won't be mad. We will happily accept those. But anyway, let's jump into the fun stuff. Before we get going, follow us wherever you are. If you're watching on Facebook, X, YouTube, we appreciate all of that. If you're on X, give us a repost and a follow there. Facebook, share and follow. On YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe, share this show with all of your trackies and friends, because we have some of the best guests in track podcasting space. I will go bar none that we have. We will go pound to pound. Maybe Sidious kind of kicks our ass because they're everywhere and they deserve it. They work their tails off.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Our guest last week was a gem. We had on Tom's River South legend and Manhattan College great, Michael Benson. You had a great time because it's always fun just watching you and your former South people, because there is a camaraderie that I don't think many schools have.
It's true, man. It's like if you went to Tom's River South and you ran track, you are somehow related for life.
Yeah, and it's so cool. And you talk about all the time, and you could just feel it as you guys were chit-chatting. And we're going to have to get Jim lined up, Dave, because we can go through his predictions, because I have them written down this time. Like because I always use the notes tab on the side to keep the itinerary up there. I have not touched any of his predictions before the season. So we are going to hold his feet to the fire, and someone
got to get Lambert back on. Yep.
Someone out there just needs to start keeping a tally of Lambert was right, Lambert was wrong. Who did that? Colin Coward always did that. Colin was right, Colin was wrong. So we could do that. But let's get into this week.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I have to flat out right away thank a close family friend, Hillary Richards, for randomly texting me out of the blue. Hillary, if you're watching, hello. You are.
Thank you, Hillary.
Grateful to you, because randomly texts me and goes something like, "Hey, Alex, I know you do a track podcast, and I'm close family friends with Keira D'Amato's mom and dad, and I'm wondering if that would be someone you're interested in." And I'm like, no, I'm not interested in the American half marathon record holder, the world record holder in the 10 mile. Like, no, not at all. Not on a track and field show, but let's bring her in. We are happy to have on Keira D'Amato, an absolute beast. What's going on, Keira?
Hey, I'm doing good. That was quite the intro. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Oh my God, it's our pleasure. And it's funny too, because it doesn't matter which show. We've talked to some absolute legends, like some, Johnny Gray, Dave Waddle, Julie Cully, et cetera, et cetera. You're our first quite literal living legend. You are our first active American record holder that we have on the show. So it is such a privilege to have you on. And I want to actually start right away, because there's a question right away for you. And this is really cool that we got this even before the show started, from Brandon Demers. Would love to know her favorite distance to race that doesn't have the word marathon in it, and why was it her virtual 4-miler during the pandemic?
Okay, Brandon, thank you for remembering this moment. This was actually, I think, an incredible race. Yeah, it was a virtual. Was it like the Mother's Day 4-mile? I can't even remember what it was, but I went to a track during a workout and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hammer. This was during COVID. So nothing was going on. So I went to a track near me and I ran like a 20:04 or something in this.
Wow.
And like, it was a workout where I was like, am I running really this fast? And it was afterwards. I'm like, well, maybe the track is short. And they're like, no, it's not short. It was one of those like.
It's the only short 400-meter track in the country.
Yeah, and then I'm like uploading it for like, I mean, I think a lot of people went for it, but not in the same way that I did. So,
Yeah.
so I uploaded. I think I almost won it outright, but I think one dude beat me. But that was a pretty big moment for me. So thank you, Brandon, for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
So, what is your favorite distance?
Oh yeah, what is your favorite distance?
Oh, okay. So I think. Oh man, I love the 10 mile. That doesn't have marathon in it.
No, it doesn't.
But every time I step on the line, somewhere in the race, I wish I was like a shorter distance runner. So like in a marathon and a half marathon, and I was like, why wasn't I gifted speed?
Why can't I run the 800?
Yeah, 200, 400, 800. So the shortest distance I can win is the answer.
There you go.
That's awesome. And it's one thing, I think they need to do a psychological study because I think distance runners during COVID out of like all athletes probably fared the best because we're solitary beasts anyway. A lot of times, like, yes, we do love to be in packs during XC, but we're used to summer runs. If you can't go, you're going to go hit a 10 on your own. You're going to go and you're going to be good. So I feel like during COVID, and there needs to be someone that does like a psychological study, right? About this, that, for obviously everybody was affected by 2 years of doing nothing.
Minus meets and everything. We were able to keep ourselves in the best shape because you just need shoes. You don't need teammates or,
and all the virtual marathons and races, like you said, like they said, like that's so freaking cool that, and Strava revolutionized all of that because they allowed people to actually compete and see, and there was no cheating. You started your Strava, like when you were done, you were done. You couldn't go and edit it. It's not like Map My Run where you could fudge it. Like you had to actually do it. So that was really cool.
Have you guys heard of these Strava Sherpas? I read a story on this that I think this is more common in another country, but people will pay people to run under their Strava account to make them look like they're running faster, they're running more, or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm for hire. Let's do this.
But
seriously. That's like Cameo for runners.
Watches. I'm good with that.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. It just defeats the whole purpose if you ask me.
It totally defeats it.
But Dave, Keira, if it's social media, everyone's pretending, right? We know that.
We don't know who anybody actually is anymore.
So I wouldn't think Strava's any different considering like everyone's looking at their rival kids' workouts now and things like that. And it's like, nah. Just go do you.
Exactly. Agreed.
I want to jump into the meat and potatoes of the show.
Sure.
And I want to ask you the same question that we start off with all of our guests. When did you get the spark to become a runner? When was the first time that you were like, competed or did a workout or something and you were like, you know what? I can do this the rest of my life. I'm good.
So I looked forward to the gym class mile. So that was something like my friends would like fake being sick to like
the presidential fitness thing that they did. Yeah.
Fitness.
You were that one student who's like, did we run the mile today?
That was my jam. Yeah. I'd be like stretching beforehand. My girlfriends would be walking, cutting the course, and like
I'd bring spikes.
Yeah, I'd be racing all the boys. But so I knew from an early age that running was special. And then I played soccer for a really long time up until high school. And then I joined the Oakton High School, shout out Cougars, cross country team my freshman year. And in the first race, it started out and I was like, okay, I can do this. And then it got halfway and I was like, this is terrible. This is not
I didn't do summer training.
So I'm going to finish this. But then I finished and I worked through wanting to quit and feeling tired, wanting to slow down. And I finished. And I think that was like the moment that I was like, oh, I get this now. So it's about like getting uncomfortable and doing something that scares you and being nervous and working through that and proving to yourself that you're capable of more than you even thought. So I think it was kind of after that race my freshman year in high school.
And when it's all about like, it's a cliche, but it's all about beating yourself, right? Especially if you're not like the top runner, that's okay. You could still just beat yourself and be a contributor in some sort of way. And I know when I was coaching, and Dave, obviously you can talk to this now, that kid that's like borderline scorer, when they go and they finally like have their breakthrough race and they score for the first time, like an invite, and they ran the race of their lives, and it's like they beam because it's like, now I am a contributor. Now I've been racing varsity, but now I am varsity. Like there's such a cool feeling to that. And it's something that maybe scoring a touchdown your first time or a home run or something like that, like your first dunk maybe is like equivalent to something like that. But I think there's very few highs of like running your perfect race for the first time. And it's like, wow, this is what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
go
from that point on, you get the bug, you're a freshman. Kind of bring us through your high school career. Like,
yeah, so freshman year, I was trying to decide if I wanted to do indoor track or basketball, and I decided on indoor. And then the same thing happened with outdoor. Do I want to do outdoor or soccer? And that was like the big turning point for me, where I was like, you know what, all in, let's run and let's see what I can do. As a freshman, I think I ran 5:13 in the mile.
Wow.
Sophomore year, I ran 5:02, and then junior year, I broke 5 for the first time, running 4:51.
That had to be great.
Yeah.
And it's not like you just broke 5. Like there's a difference between breaking 5 and breaking 5, right? Like you didn't run 4:59. Like you crushed it. Like there was no doubt.
Racing this girl at districts named Kelly Ostott that was like, I looked up to her so much. Very fast, 800 runner, also really great miler. And we were together with 1 lap to go, and we were both trying to break 5. And I knew she was on my heels and she had a kick. So I kicked like Kelly made me kick. Kelly. So thank you, Kelly, for that really under 5. Yeah.
So here in New Jersey, soccer is in the fall. What do you think would have happened if soccer was in the fall there?
I would have done soccer.
And then maybe we're not talking now to Keira D'Amato.
I feel like my path would eventually ended up on running. And like the whole reason I did soccer was to impress the whole reason I did cross country was to impress the soccer coach at Oakton.
Oh, he was the coach.
Like, look how fit I am, and I can run cross country, and I'll stay in shape, and I'll get really fit for soccer. But my soccer coach at one point pulled my mom aside. This was in 8th grade, and he was a Frenchman, and I don't know where. This was like a travel league in Virginia, and he was like, "Hey, I have a secret, or I know how to get Keira a full scholarship to college." And she was thinking, okay, she needs to do this soccer camp. She needs to get this trainer. She needs to start going to the weight room. I don't know. And he goes, sign her up for cross country.
And that's a hell of a coach. Like that is a good coach to lose an athlete that, you know, I don't know if you were a varsity athlete or not, but to lose an athlete in general that's passionate about it and let him to go and follow, you know, the best path forward. Yeah. I think that's really cool. Mm-hmm. And to be a Frenchman too, and to steer someone away from football, like that's like their
running. The reason I remember that is because we're running, we'd be doing chants like "Un, deux, trois, vive France." That was like our chants when we were like doing a run to warm up. So that was that's kind of it's living rent free in my brain forever.
That's incredible. So I want to now go down memory lane with you from when you first started competing as a runner up until where you currently are as a pro athlete, as a world record holder, as an American record holder, like accolades galore, because you have one of the more unique paths to any runner that gets to the level that you get. And when you got there is even more unique, right? Mm-hmm. So kind of walk us through your favorite memories from beginning, high school, American, the gap, and everything.
Oh, this is a great question. So in high school, I won the mile in state championships, I think 3 or 4 times maybe. And I ran cross country twice. I won states twice, I should say, my junior and senior year. And then one of the most vivid memories I have was before like Nike Cross was around, we had Foot Locker.
Yep. So it's actually Foot Locker again now. It went back this year to be Foot Locker.
Okay, bring it back. Yes. But when I was in high school, they took top 8. Yep. So one of my most vivid memories in high school was finishing 9th in the Foot Locker region.
That's incredible.
And it was devastating. Sure. It really but such a beautiful thing came from it. It lit a fire for me. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm never going to be there again. And I think it was kind of probably now looking back on those moments, I think that failing in those sort of ways, I think helped me get to the next level even more than achieving my goals. Yeah. Because I didn't want to be sitting on the sidelines. I wanted to be up there racing, and how do I be in the main event? Yeah. So, and then college by my senior year, so I go from in high school, I didn't even make it to the nationals. By my senior year in college, I finished 6th at D1 NCAA cross champs. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that was very I couldn't even make it to nationals in high school. And then in college, I finished top 10. And so I kind of just felt like I was on this upward trajectory that I wanted to keep seeing what I was capable of.
And I think things with young runners that they need to realize is runners develop in so many different ways,
Oh, absolutely.
especially distance runners. And that's why we have so many studs that like you'll see people that are like D2 or D3 and then they run faster times than the D1 champion. And it's like,
Look
wait,
at Nick Simmons.
look at
You
Nick
know?
Simmons. It's like, where did they come from? And it's like they develop differently. Maybe they hit puberty a little later.
Yeah.
Maybe their coaching wasn't there in high school. And now they got to a
Well,
program
yeah.
where there's a better coach and it fits their style. Because
Yeah.
sometimes it could be a great coach, but it doesn't match your style. So it's very much, running such a different sport in that way where you can develop later and become a star.
Well, I know, like as a coach, every kid wants to go D1. I'm like, you don't have to. There's
No.
so many amazing programs out there at every level. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's crazy. Like running is running. Get with a coach that you feel comfortable with, and then everything will just take care of itself.
We have Vassar in my backyard, and we had a young lady who just finished second at nationals for cross country in the D3. So it's like, you can come from anywhere and do anything, and it's like her time is not going to shake a stick. You're not shaking a stick at it. She's up there in D1 nationals, D2. So it's like, again, it has everything to do with you, how you train, and if you're passionate about it.
Yeah. Well, and I think each like program teaches you different things too,
Yep.
right? Nick Simmons, he learned how to win. He learned
Yeah.
and he learned confidence, and he learned that he was, just I don't know. I was about to curse, and I'm not a cursor. I was going to say he learned to say, and so I think that's also like a valuable lesson, So each program I think has its own set of pros and things that you can learn from it. I went to a small running school where I'd be the only one. It was usually me and maybe a couple guys or the guys team going to nationals, and I learned independence. I learned how to read my body. I learned how to like be really like proactive and self-motivated, and I think all of those things really translated for me into longevity. But after college, I tried running professionally, got injured, and I quit. And I took like an 8-year halftime show,
which is insane. So, what injury did you get?
Your story amazes me.
Yeah. What injury did you get?
So I had something called a tarsal coalition, where two bones in my ankle were connected that weren't supposed to be. Ooh. So I needed to have surgery that separated them, but it wasn't covered by my insurance. It was in 2008, where it was like the pre-existing, all that. So it got denied, and then I appealed it. It got denied, and I'm like, well, this is my career and all my dreams. Like, we need to get this done. Can I just pay out of pocket? And then they showed me the bill, and I was like, okay, I'm not paying out of pocket.
Yeah, $200,000 later or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was so expensive. And I was like, I guess I got to fall back on my computer science and math degree. So yeah, I went into like, the corporate world.
How hard was that? Like to make that choice because of, and it sounds like it was strictly because of finances. Like, how frustrating is that as an athlete to not be able to get an injury fixed? That had to be just devastating.
It was really hard because I had so many goals and so many dreams. And so and I just knew if I was patient enough and kept improving that I'd get there. So I had this like eerie confidence for someone that maybe shouldn't have had that confidence, but I just knew if I kept going, I'd make a national team or win a national title, or perhaps like, I don't know, set a national record or something. And so that was like in my core. And then so leaving it really rocked me for a while, because everything that I thought I knew was wrong. But a funny thing happened after I quit. I was okay. I learned what was on the other side of sport.
Sure.
And I figured out I could be happy doing other things too. And I think,
which might take a while, because like that becomes your identity. That is who you are. You are a runner. And then to find a whole new path is tough. So kudos to you for making it work. That's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it was weird. I was Keira the runner who didn't run, and people would ask me like, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, by day I, do computer work. And they'd be like, okay, well, by night, are you a vampire or something? I'm like, a runner who doesn't run right now. That's my like by night. But
so you didn't run at all because of your injury? Like, you completely took time off? Like, did you run at all during that 8-year hiatus?
So I got the surgery after about a year. Okay. And then it was like, I felt like I was going through a really bad breakup where I wasn't ready to talk to him yet. So I did I started getting into cycling a lot. So I would do a bunch of century rides, and then, I'd go all in for that. And then I'd get into CrossFit and go all into that. And I was like squatting a ton, like benching a ton. It was like, and then
you're like Ryan Hall.
I went through like a Ryan Hall phase.
Yeah. Did you ever consider going the Ironman route while you were doing all that and seeing what you were able to do?
I did. Okay, so I did one sprint triathlon.
Okay.
And I like held my own on the swim because I grew up swimming too. I just played all the sports. I loved like anything you could sign me up for, sign me up. So I like did well on the swim, and then on the bike I crushed. So I get off and I'm like, okay, running, that's my bread and butter. I got this. And then like everyone and their sister passed me in the run. Like I hadn't been practicing grip. So I wasn't like, I was like, what is this?
Your legs just felt like 1,000 pounds like over the whole time.
So like if I were to do that again, I would practice transition and I would like work up the fatigue, you know, and bike and run and practice. But
we had Jennifer Comfort on the show, who is, you know, a world ranked, you know, triathlete. And she talked about just like how important the transitions are. Like people will just literally go and for a full day practice transitions because they're difficult to do in, you know, in a good manner. Anyone could do a transition, but doing it without losing a ton of time is a skill.
Yeah, absolutely. So I tried one and that didn't go so well. So I'm taking a little break and maybe I'll come back and have a little round 2 with that too. But
so was there ever a point where you thought that you would go back, or were you just very, very content, like having a family, working a job,
and
just like living this normal life, you know?
And within those 8 years, right, you get married and have kids.
Yeah, I got married and had kids. And then I was pulled from my like IT job to do director of marketing at a running store in the DC area, PR Run and Walk. So I then figured out how to put running back into my life for all the other reasons, but how fast I can run. It was to inspire others. It was to feel good. It was to be happy. So I was working every day with running without really being a daily runner. But I
you're like us with this podcast. We work weekly or running, but you know, neither of us run anymore.
So I learned like why like all the other reasons why you run, which I think that was like a really helpful thing for me too. So when eventually I put running back into my life, but and another quick story. So in 2016, I was like probably 8 months pregnant with my daughter. And one of my best friends was like, hey, Keira, do you see yourself ever running again? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like I'll run a local 5K. And she's like, no, like really running. And I just laughed in her face. I was like, oh, no. No, I'm done. So I never thought that I would.
So when did that happen? Where you sat there and you were content, you weren't competing, you were fine, you were helping other runners become better at what they do. When did the bug bite you again, and why get back in? And how old were you when you got back in?
Yeah, so
which I'm sorry, never ask a lady their age, but I'm not a podcast.
I'm totally
that's prevalent.
I've heard my story too, so that's I've been very open about all that. But so in 2016 when I had my daughter, a few months after that, I actually went out, like I was feeling just like overwhelmed with a 0 and a 1-year-old, and I went out to try to just get out of the house, and I'm like, what do I have to do just to get a little time? And I was like, go for a run. So I was like, okay, I haven't run in a while. Let's try to run 3 minutes. And thinking that, when you say you're going to run like 10 minutes and it ends up being 20 minutes or like for a 3-mile run and that feels so good, you run 5. Sure. So I was like, I'm going to go.
And then you can't run for the next 7 days because your legs are exhausted. You did what you thought you could. And then you come back the next day and you're just like, oh, you look like Flat Stanley.
Yeah,
exactly. So I was like 3 minutes and I got out. I made it 90 seconds before that was all I can go. I stopped. I cried. I walked home and I was like, okay, this is where I am. But I think so much time had passed for me that I wasn't comparing myself to college Keira that could go out for an easy 10-mile run like it was nothing. I was comparing myself to mom Keira of yesterday who didn't run. So I was like, you know what, 90 seconds better than nothing. Yeah. So I went out and just kept trying to do a little bit more. So then took a day off because that took a lot out of me. But the day after that, I went and tried to go 3 minutes and I made it that time. I celebrated like I won the Olympics. I was so thrilled. And that just started. Then I felt like I was winning something and I was exhausted at home, but I was doing that little thing for me that felt like I was winning and I was improving and it was giving me a lot of confidence. So it all started with 3-minute run.
And I mean, tell you what, but post 2 kids with a 0-year-old, like, it's not doctor recommended to go out and do a run, right? It's recommended to hang out and, work out if you can, do things light. And obviously 3 minutes isn't supposed to, isn't a strain. Like you were smart about it. But I think, anyone that has had a significant other, that has had a child, and you witness their recovery, it is difficult physically, it's difficult mentally. And like, as a husband, it's like, can't do much for you. Like, you want me to rub your shoulders? Like, what do you want me to do? Like, you just want to kill me after that. No, I'm kidding. But it's like, I think like that's a perspective that we can't let go. And I think it's incredible that like it started off as like, I need to get time for myself.
Right.
And then look what it turned into again.
I just think that, like it's from a person coming from where you were as an athlete to have that mind frame and to be able to compare yourself to who you are now. Because like I'll still go out for a run, and I was nowhere near the level. I'm like, I can't run 600 miles anymore, and then but to have that mind frame and to accept it and to be okay with it is amazing. Like that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, I think that I had mourned all of those goals that I didn't hit, and I wasn't going for them anymore. So I didn't have, like, I wasn't even confident enough in my running ability at the time to even set a goal. So for me, it was like very like, okay, compared to what I do tomorrow to what I did today, So it was like, keep trying to progress. And then instead of focusing on a goal or an outcome, I was focusing on just progress and just the journey. So it was like, wow, I ran 5 miles this week. But it was funny because I was nursing. And so my husband would be like, hey, did you like run today? I'd be like, yeah, I ran 6 miles today. And he's like, did nursing count for 5 of those miles? I was like, yep. He's like, that's not how it works. Like you can't log miles. He's like, that's the amount of calories, but that doesn't count for like mileage, like your weekly mileage. I'm like,
so
that's incredible.
As you're going through this process of getting back in shape, like once you get serious, like you almost get like a chance to do everything you might have done wrong the first time and change it up. And it has to be nice knowing that you're not running like you already have a job, like you're running for yourself. Like that, it's almost like this isn't a job anymore. This is something I'm doing for myself just to see where I'm at. So I think that kind of takes some of the pressure off. Like I'm just doing this for myself. I had kids. I retired 8 years ago. This is just fun.
You nailed it, Dave. That is 100% exactly how I felt. And then also like, eventually when I was able to set a goal, like, hey, maybe I'm going to try to break 25 minutes or my first goal I remember was trying to break 30 minutes in the 5K, which I did not do the first time I tried. But it was maybe like, it was a little aggressive, that goal at the time for me, but I knew what was on the other side of failure too. So I could set these goals and then I just knew like, okay, I could set goals. And if I don't hit them, like I know what's on the other side of failure and it's not that bad. And I think that is like my superhero power now is that what you just said, one, it was like would've, could've, should've. I can incorporate all that back into my running now. But then also if it doesn't work out, I'll be exactly where I am now, which is fine,
Yeah. So what was that race that it clicked that I can be a pro runner? Like what was like the time where you just like ran a time or won a race that's like, and you're looking at this going, I'm going to go for this because, obviously like, yes, you could be like, oh, this, doesn't affect me much, laissez faire, but you still have to have a competitive edge to race the way you race. Like that has to be there. That drive of once your toe gets to line, I'm the best runner here and I'm going to prove it type of thing has to click. So when did you switch it from, I'm just doing this for fun to, that was awesome. I think I can do everything I wanted to do in college and then some.
So I think there was 2 moments for me, and I've had like 2 magical marathons in my career. And I know that is like, it's like they're few and far between when everything kind of clicks in a race. But one was in 2017, I was running the Richmond Marathon and I had a goal to try to break 3 hours. And in my first marathon that I did, I ran a 3:49. And then my next one, I like figured out a lot and ran 3:13. So this was a big, big improvement for me.
Yep.
And
I'm saying,
sorry, what was that?
That 3:49 was only because you were running with your husband, right? Like you would.
No, that was because he ran 3:02 that day. So I'm not
okay.
He ran great. That was because I hit a wall at 16 and had to walk it in, and then stopped at every single gummy bear table and tried to see how many of them I can get in my mouth. But
you just made it fun at that point.
It wasn't really fun, but I was just trying to finish, and it was like maybe gummy bears is what's gonna get me through the line. But
there you go.
So in 27, I was trying to break 3 hours, and it was just one of those races where it never hurt. And
that's so fun.
Oh my gosh. And like my husband, before the race, he's like, 1, like pace yourself, go out slow and try to finish hard. And number 2, like run with people. And I knew he was going to be around like the 6-mile mark. And I realized right before I like turned the corner that I was out too fast and I was totally alone. So I pulled over kind of on the side, ran slow. I let like a group of guys catch me and I tuck in with them. And I was like, hey, we're going to pass my husband up here. When he goes by, like he's going to say like, don't tell him I wasn't with you the whole time. All right. And whatever, crazy lady, sure. And I go by and he yells like, great job, Keira, way to tuck in. Guys just like died. They thought that was like the funniest thing. But when he saw how fast I went out, he actually bet my mother-in-law that I was going to like hit the wall and drop out. But like I negative split. I think I ran like, I don't remember my splits, but I negative split by almost 6 minutes that race. Like it
So
just.
what was it like when you get to mile 16, 15, right? And that's usually where the wall starts to set in. Like 16 to like 22 is when that wall hits. After that, it's like euphoria, I'm almost done. But what was it like when you got to those points and it's like, okay, it hasn't hit. Okay, it hasn't hit. Okay, and then you're at mile 23, 24, and you're just like, maybe it's not hitting. Let's go. Like, what was that like experiencing that?
It like you're always waiting for like the ball to drop. And I think if you've hit a wall in the marathon, anytime you're feeling good, you're always like, this is too good to be true, like temper my expectations. So I finished and I ran 2:47 flat, 2:47.00.
Wow.
And so I was 2 minutes away from the Olympic standard at the time. And that was like the first moment where I was like, hey, maybe if I kept at this, could I qualify for the Olympic trials? And that's, I think, where it started going. But I was actually really hesitant to like really go for it because I was having so much fun. And I was worried if I really went for it,
it would be more of a job, right?
Exactly. I didn't want it to be a job. I wanted exactly all those reasons why you just said just a second ago, Dave, is that like it was for me and it was fun and I was feeling good. And I like, you know, I'd go to a race and just go for it and just see what would happen. So that was like the first moment. And I decided like, why not go for it? I can figure out a way to have fun and go for it. And then the second one in 2020 during COVID, I ran a marathon and it was another one of those races where I just like, I couldn't run fast enough. Yeah. And I ran 2:22, which put me 7 all time on the like top 10 list. And that was like the moment where I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm on this list. But like 7th, let's go down to number 1. So that was awesome. Like, it was such a weird, like, I don't know, 7th, like I couldn't believe I was on the list, but then also, well, if I'm going to be on the list, I should probably go for one.
Yeah. And, and the greats have to have that delusion that they could be the best, right? That's like, whether it's like, I imagine a lot of the great 800 guys during David Rudisha's time thought they could beat him, but like their heart of hearts was like, it's freaking David Rudisha. Like we are amazing, but he's David Rudisha, right? But still, to get at that world-class level, you have to believe that I don't care if David Rudisha is there. He wants to run 140. I'm going to set a world record and with him and beat him. Like that mentality is there. So I think that's awesome that like that drive started to slowly come back. So at this point, did pro coaches start reaching out to you or anyone start reaching out to you that's like, what are you doing training wise and what are we going to do about it type of deal?
Well, I started back with my coach that I joined right after college, Scott Roscoe. So I joined with him.
Now that was Alan, that was Webb's coach, right?
Absolutely.
In high school. Yep.
Yep. And so I started, I think, connecting back with him in maybe 2018. So I was being coached at that time, but it was after that race where I had a bunch of brands reach out to me and want to sponsor me. And that's when it started feeling like real. But I didn't want to like change anything. I'm like, everything I'm doing and the way I'm doing is working. So I don't like, I was actually really hesitant too, but I ran in Nike shoes. All my favorite gear was Nike. Yeah. So when Nike came around, I was like, yeah, this is the partner that I want to go down this road.
Did you negotiate hard to kind of like try and keep things as status quo as possible? Or was it kind of like, here's what we're offering, take it? Like you don't have a choice. It's Nike.
No, Nike was like, we want to support you doing you.
That's awesome.
Let us know how we can help you. But like, we love that you're full-time. I was a realtor at the time also. Like, we love that you're a realtor. We love that you're a mother. Like, we want to support you in the Keira way. So how we can support you. And so I was like, yeah, that's awesome. And like, from that talk on to now, Nike has always been like that. And
so I'll say this.
Great partner.
It's great for you and all, but I absolutely hate that. Nike should go, we want to support you by making you never have to work again. We love that you're a realtor. We love that you're a mother. Let's make sure your kids can do whatever the hell they want. And let's make sure
just like every other athlete
behind you, like every other pro athlete that they sponsor that isn't a runner. Like this is my bone to pick. Like I get it. For your situation, it was amazing. And I'm not going to ask you to say anything bad about Nike because they've been great to you. But as someone from this side, and we had Jim Spivey on, and he kind of talked to us about the brand side of things. But my thing as a talking head is, I don't care. I want my athletes that I look up to, our pros, to never have to worry about can they afford training? Can they afford their coach? Where are they training? What are they training in? And why can't I pay my bills at my house sometimes? Like, there should be no question. And it doesn't have to be 10, 20, 30 million dollars. If you gave your Nike athletes, which they can do, this is Nike, New Balance, Asics, Saucony, all of them, Hoka. If you just gave each of you guys $250,000 a year, that is a pittance compared to what they do for some other athletes. You would be just fine. And I get it. I love the story, and I think it's great that Nike has been that way with you and has worked with you. But this is something we want to change on this show. We don't want those stories of how nice they are. We want them to be nice with their checkbook and make sure that you never have to want with anything again, because there's no reason why our pro athletes, which we have had at least 7 or 8 on the show, that went to Olympic trials and could barely afford food, had to work a second job, didn't know where they were going to train year to year. And that to me is like, you have guys and girls going to Olympic trials. That should never be the case. So that is me. And again, never going to ask you to say anything bad. They've treated you well. They obviously are still treating you fantastic. I just want them to treat you better.
Well, and I totally get where you're coming from. And I've seen stories like that, and I've met the people and I've talked to them. And it's like, there is an inequality in our sport, for sure.
Yeah.
But I do think that, I mean, when you look at Nike, they sponsor so many people.
Yes, they do.
People to like all the way to the marathon. So they really have so many athletes in their book. But I also think that we should be getting other sponsors outside of just the shoe brands too.
Agreed.
100%.
And I think that we should create like a program. I don't know if that's USATF or what, that makes more of like a pro system that can really support the athletes too.
I think you guys have to unionize. And I'm not the biggest like union. I know it's a dirty word. Sorry, Nike. Don't hate me. I'm never going to get anyone from Nike to come on here saying that word. But that is kind of the way. And I think Michael Johnson's league, the Grand Slam League, is something that can be used, and Ryan Krauser Stower leagues, because what does UFC, what does tennis, what does golf have? They have a promotion that signs athletes to the promotion, which MJ's doing. And it's like, okay, I don't necessarily need the sponsorship now. That is not my only thing. I know I am secure for at least this year, whatever my contract is in this promotion. And UFC is my favorite example, because they are all independent contractors that are contracted per fights. Maybe you could sit there and be contracted per race at some of these promotional things. And there you go. Now it's, okay, Nike, I run for, I don't know if ATL can do something like that. Maybe they can't because they're amazing, but they do what they can. But you could sit there and go, Nike, I'm now an ATL athlete. I'm guaranteed 10 races. I'm guaranteed X number of money. I love your sponsorship, but that's my security. You know what I mean? You can jump on with me. And I think that is going to be, and hopefully MJ, Ryan Krauser, along with ATL and other people that we've talked to, Zig Ziglar, Kirk Barrage, who are all trying to do things like this, can change it for you guys. Because like I said, I'm more passionate than you athletes. Like, I really am about getting you guys paid.
Well, and it's like, I really give Michael Johnson a lot of credit too, because it's hard when you're in it to like dedicate that time to creating that. But then once you're out of it, you're looking for like your next thing, or how to like, if you're not like Michael Johnson level. So, so I really am so appreciative that people, I mean, Ryan, I don't know how he's balancing it all too. Just an incredible person.
But I think you needed someone like Michael Johnson. You needed someone who is an icon, who people will say, oh, like, I want to run. Like, he's signing everybody. And it's great because the people are, and like, I don't love how he doesn't have field events, but I get it. But, like, his name is cachet, and that's what's bringing, like, he's signed, like, all these people are signing, and it's great. And I'm really hoping that after Paris and the Olympics in 2008 here, like, it's going to just boom, like, we're going to take off finally, and you guys are going to get the recognition like every other athlete.
Well, and I think we're seeing it too with like Netflix, the Sprint too. So we're seeing more attention, we're getting more marketing. And I think the more people we can get to be fans of the sport, like hopefully the more like investment. But it was funny, the other night I had a dream about the Grand Slam track. And I texted Kyle Merber because I was like, hey, way to go on marketing. I'm dreaming about you guys. I went up to Michael and Kyle and I was like, I had this pitch. I had this long list of things that I wanted to pitch him on. And then I woke up before I got through the list, and the first couple, like T-shirt cannon and like a couple other things, I was like, okay, maybe those aren't the best ideas, but I was like, maybe Dream Keira had some good ones on number like 3, 4, or 5 on the list. But
like our whole thing is we need to get more casual fans
And hi, Kyle. Hi, Michael. If you guys are watching, we'd love to have you on, talk about, Grand Slam. We'd love it. Come over here and promote it here as well. We think you guys are awesome.
Oh, the best.
But, and I think what they could do with this league now, and which they couldn't do before, they can make Noah Lyle, Sidney McLaughlin apparel, right? Because they, and with their names, with their likeness on it in this league, because now it's a guarantee that they are a part of the league. They might not run they're going to run these 4 races barring injury, but there's a much better chance because there's real money on the line and the competition is Olympic level. So these athletes are going to want to go out and prove themselves that they are still the greatest on the track, even on a non-Olympic, even on a non-world year. And it's awesome.
I also wonder too, because like when you're competing under like world athletics, there's certain uniform rules and certain logos you can or can't have, and they have to be a certain size. So I wonder now that they're their own entity, like, will they allow more than one sponsor in the uniform?
They're smart. I think they would allow people to have their own individual style.
Honest,
like if a discus thrower wants to wear throw in a skirt, let her throw in a skirt. Like let them have their own unique flash and style. And like what we need, I think, is we need spikes and shoes with people's names on them, just like every other sport. Like, oh, did you get the new Noah Lyles spikes? Like that would help because kids like that stuff.
And to be honest, Michael and Kyle need to go to, and they need to be, simpatico with World Athletics, obviously, right? But they need to go to them and say, it's my promotion that is drawing eyes. It is not World Athletics that is drawing eyes. And especially if they get the numbers and, they can have points, and it could be a big deal if someone hits the quad, right? Like everyone else that does the Grand Slam in tennis, the Grand Slam in, the Masters and the big ones in golf. Like this can now become another big thing where it's like, can Noah, and who's going to win who's going to sweep Noah or Tebejo in the 200? Like we can get interesting. And if Tebejo gets Noah 3 times, but he stops him in the 4th one, like the championship. And now Tebejo has to try next year to be the Grand Slam. Like there's those storylines there. And I think Michael needs to be a little hard and go, my promotion, my rules will work with you. But for the most part, if I want my athletes to do something, World Athletics is the supporting body. You are not the creating body. And USATF as well. You guys are the supporting body. And I think, and I've said for a while, their role needs to be support of these leagues, not control. Yeah. And if they support it, it can expand and grow exponentially. Yeah. So I think that's when I think Michael, with his clout, with his cachet, and with the support he has behind him, as long as it's successful, right? If you do that, it's not successful, you're buried and goodbye. And I think it's going to be successful with the athletes that he has. Yes. And I know we're going to be talking about it, and we're going to be trying to promote it here as much as we can. And I just think that if you're an athlete that's even not competing there, you're insane to not try and promote it out to everybody in your social media, because it will benefit you. Because the better this is, the more Michael expands. Yeah. Right. So I think it's a great thing. And I really think Michael needs to be a little tough. And I don't see him not being tough because he's a tough guy. Yeah. I want to get to this comment real quick. Brandon Demers again. You were inspiring an entire generation of mid-30s and beyond moms and dads out there that we have some good years left and to have the right attitude and perspective towards it.
Amen.
So do you feel that way? That you are an inspiration to many, or are you just still living in the moment?
No, I've started to feel it. Like, I think at first it was about like me and my journey. And then somewhere it turned to like about about people that think maybe we've been told we're too old or we're too busy or, with being parents. And, so I feel like there's a lot of things that I'm trying to push forward through my journey. I just turned 40, so I'm officially marathon runner, and I still like this build, although the race didn't go very well at Chicago this year, the build was one of the best builds of my life. And I felt very, very fit. And I like firmly believe the best is yet to come. Sure. And I have to change things. I have to be more patient. I have to, really make sure that recovery is going well and listen to my body when I need to pull back a little bit. But yeah, it's, I want to continue pushing the bar forward to show what we're all capable of.
Now,
I love that.
I know when Allison Felix became a mom, she even said how she felt more of a responsibility, to like show that because for the longest time it was like, oh, having a baby, you're athletic, like that's complete nonsense. And I'm glad that we're at a spot now. So do you feel more of a inspiration or a pressure because you are a mom? And how did your mindset change after becoming a mom? Because I would imagine it's not just about you now. Like that you have to take everyone into consideration for training and going to meets and things like that.
And I'll toss the third question in. Are you and Elise Cranny closer now because you share that bond of being mothers and in freaking credible?
Oh, yeah. I do. I think there is a connection with all the moms.
Yeah.
I don't feel pressure being a mom.
Good.
I haven't felt pressure coming back this whole time because I feel like no one was expecting anything of me before. And so I don't know, I feel very free to do it in my way. But I do, I forget kind of the middle question, but what about moms? Oh, so I think becoming a mother has made me a better runner because now running is just one piece of me. And I think it's very, very clear now that when I have like a bad race, it's not even a bad day. It's just a bad race. And I go home to my kids. They don't care if I was first or last, didn't start, finish or didn't finish, it's like, they're like, hey mom, what's for dinner? So I think that has really grounded me in a way that has made this just running and it's just a part of me. It's not the whole me. So even I feel like in college, I was living race to race. And my last race was my confidence, right? And just, I needed to get to the next race to prove that I was worthy, or like my happiness almost depended on how well I was running. Yeah. And now I feel like I've done much better separating it, and I'm not perfect with it, but I think that separation, just becoming a mother, has put things into perspective, which is really healthy for me personally.
I love it. I think it's amazing. Tremendous.
And nothing is better than a bad day, whether it's running or not, just going in and snuggles, right? Like nothing is better than when you sit there and you're just like, sit on the couch and it's like, get over here. And they just come and they dive into you. And it's like, all right, nothing else matters. I understand my purpose again. Like my purpose again in your shoes isn't to be a runner. My purpose is to be mom and runner second, and to show my girls like, okay, and it's a good lesson, right? Especially since you're an elite athlete, that failure, even for you, is a normal thing at times, and you need to learn how to accept it and you need to overcome it, because as they get older, they're going to realize mom was a superwoman, right? But then they're also going to sit there and learn all the lessons and be like, oh, I looked up and mom, she didn't win that race. She actually didn't run great, but she was so happy that day and she made us our favorite food. And I think it's just going to be like a lesson for them and like Brandon said, so many other people, including myself. And it's like, you can do things still. Just because you failed before doesn't mean that you need to not be scared of failure again.
Yeah.
Just go and attack it.
Yeah. And I think just like filtering it through, like talking to myself the way that I would talk to my daughter, and like the lessons that I really want to show her, I don't care if they, are the best at anything they do, but I do hope that they find a passion that excites them, that gets them excited to wake up early and to work hard towards something, and I'm hoping I'm showing them not how to win, but how to like go for it and how to like work hard and set goals, and like, win, lose or draw, you're going to come home and like life moves on. So I hope those lessons that I'm showing them, even more so than, any race that I finish first.
So how important has your husband also been in all this? Because you guys are living a pretty damn normal life, right? For 8 years. And then you start running and you get the bug. And now it's, all right, honey, I had to be in Budapest. I'm like, love you. And it's like, so what has that been like, in terms of your husband? And obviously he's a runner too. So that does make things a little bit easier. Sure. But how has that been for you guys, going from a generally normal life to now you're a record holder, you're an elite athlete, you are obviously the alpha. No, I'm kidding. But but just the change in lifestyle there.
Mm-hmm. No, I give him a lot of credit. And I think that one, like he's a runner and he loves running, and it's been fun to go on this journey with me. But then also like he's very busy and he works full time with Microsoft. He also works as part of the Virginia Air National Guard. And so
thanks for his service.
Yeah, thank you. Well, having a third job of supporting me and like kind of my, crazy hours or my times or whatever, like that's another thing on his plate. So he's a really hard worker and he's really patient and he's super supportive. So I give him a lot of credit for going on this journey. When we got married, we didn't expect to go on this journey. So I appreciate him being able to kind of support and kind of let me fly with this.
Now, was he ever like, because being a runner himself, knowing what you had done, was there like, come on, let's see what you could do. Like it's still in you. Like was he
was there any motivating doubt on factor? Your end? Yeah.
Not really. Because I think when we got married, I wasn't running.
Correct.
Okay. And so he saw I would be up till like midnight playing Call of Duty, eating nachos. So
nice.
I was like a totally different Keira then. So I think
one of us, one of us, one of us.
there was this one day I was playing Call of Duty. I look outside and like people were walking their dogs. I'm like, man, I have some crazy neighbors. Like they're walking their dogs in the middle of the night. And I realized it was like morning. And I was like, I need to go to bed. This is not a good look for me.
This was pre-kids.
So what was your KD? What was your KD? Your kill death? What was that? Was it good?
Oh, I have no idea. It's been a while. It's been a while. I feel like I was decent. I heard
Call of Duty 6 is good. I heard the hide and seek mode is really good. You might want to.
I'm not a video game guy, so I don't know.
I don't think I've played since like 2, maybe. But also like I was a Halo girl before.
Okay.
So I go way back with.
Yeah. Listen, those are amazing games, and I'm also, I used to be a gamer. I'm a former gamer as well with podcasting and everything, and all the extra expenses with gaming. It's kind of. I have a PlayStation 4, and my 6-year-old daughter plays Crash Bandicoot on it, and it's like cool.
Oh, okay. Now that's a good game.
Yeah. I got her. So listen. So quick aside. Sorry, running people that don't care about this, but they had the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy plus CTR Nitro Edition for $28 on the PlayStation Store. If you
bought it,
I got it. It was originally $75, and I'm like, yes, sale. And then I showed my daughter. I'm like, Daddy beat all these games, and they're incredibly hard. And she started playing, and she's like, "What is this? This is terribly hard."
She's like, Dad, I just beat it in an hour.
Yeah, Crash was my favorite game for a while.
Oh,
so I have a question.
Not gaming related?
No, it's not. So the Chicago Marathon didn't go as you like, but what was it like training with Maddie and like running with him? Like, how did that all come about? Because like that got pretty big news. So I'm just curious, like how that all came about and what was it like? Because kudos to him. That's such a cool thing for him to
such a different leap from the 15 to 26.
Yeah,
like that's insane.
And he ran well.
Yeah.
He ran great. So I was coached by his dad in college.
Yep.
And so I like in my coach, Matt Sinchowitz, everyone was family. So we were like tied in with his kids and everything. And I know his family like pretty well. And do I have, oh, okay. And so, yeah, so I knew him for a while back in the, I guess, early or mid 2000s. And, I've been cheering him on, following his career when he got gold in Rio. I screamed, I cried, like all the emotions.
Was he little Maddie for a while since he's like younger than you? Like, did you know him as little Maddie when you were being coached by his dad? Like, what was he in high school?
He was in high school.
Yeah,
so 50 Cent was really popular then. So I called him 10 Cent because he
was so small, right?
He was so small, but he always had a swagger to him. I mean, even
he always saw. Listen, he might have more swagger than almost any runner that he just looks cool.
Absolutely.
Like, I think it's his stride. He just kind of floats. It's
Kira, that's his official nickname of the show now. You have made his name 10 Cent. Like, it is officially 10 Cent. Like, if Matt ever comes on the show, he will not be referred to as Matty Centrowitz Jr. Central. He is 10 Cent, and he will probably look at you, call you, and be like, "What did you do?"
No, I think we've embraced it. We're in a fantasy football league, and we have been for a really long time. And his team name is 10 Cent. So I think he's like fully embraced it at this point now. But
good job, Maddie.
At least with me. But so when I moved to Park City, like we connected and I was like, "Hey, you want to train for a marathon?" He's like, that's like something that I wanted to do, but I don't, his wife actually just had a baby about
yes,
a week ago.
Yeah, we were out with old Maddie Central Senior like 3 weeks ago.
Gosh,
we went out with him. What a character. What a great guy.
Awesome guy.
Yeah. So he was like looking for something to do too. So he was like really willing to like drive down. We drove down to Provo 2 or 3 times a week together, did some workouts. And, it was funny. Every single long run, it'd be like, oh, like 19 miles. This is my longest run. 21 miles. This is my longest run. Like 24 miles. This is my longest run. But with him, as soon as we saw the car, he would leave. Like in a race, when you pass the finish line and it's so hard, but he would like give in to that urge every single time. So I had to start coming up with routes that didn't see our car. So I needed him and I needed him to get that training in too. But he's incredible. It's unfortunate the race didn't go very well, but not for lack of training or fun or just the build was incredible.
What he just retired and stopped and rather than then go off in the sunset, he agreed to train with you. Like, what a cool thing,
dude. And that just shows so much about his
awesome.
Personality. He's like such a kind and generous person, and I think he really loves to run. And for someone to hit the highest heights in track and field, to win gold,
the gold medal,
Yeah.
In the greatest tactical race of all time, the greatest tactical race ever. Because he
won 350. You know, like
it's not like he wasn't at the low 330 guy. So it's not like he couldn't run world elite
he ran the
times
race
at the
he
time.
wanted to.
Everyone decided to let him sit, and he was like, "Thanks, I'm stronger than all of you. This is awesome, you dummies!" Like, and it was great to watch. Like, I remember
I was going nuts.
Same thing about this Olympics with Cole.
Oh,
like, it's
crazy.
It was so much fun. So, was there a nice trade-off there of kind of like him showing you a little more about the speed side of things and you showing him how to train more distance-wise? Because obviously those are two different worlds. He is a guy that is very speed-oriented. You're a lady that is very distance-oriented. So what was that like, that push and pull? And were there some things that you picked his brain that it's like, how do I get a little bit quicker here? Because, you do need quickness at some point, right? That last mile is an open mile if it's a competitive marathon. So it's like, did you learn things from each other from this training?
Yeah, absolutely. He is a phenomenal storyteller. And the things that he's experiencing.
So is his dad.
Yes, they're two peas in a pod, man.
Yes. So Matt is a little like Matthew can read the room a little bit more with his story. So
Senior is very brash, and that's a nice way to put it. Senior is a brash, but also kind if you realize that he's not making fun of you. Like he will sit there. I feel like he's the type of guy, if he's picking on you a little bit, he likes you. Yeah, I feel like that's exactly his style, and I've dealt with many coaches like that.
Yeah. Well, and he is like the coach, Matthew coach he's so loyal, he's so giving, he's so generous, and he really like protects his squad. Like, he is incredible coach, an incredible person, like, and just really, really fun to be around too. And
I think people forget how great of a runner he was.
Still New York record holder for
the New York record mile. He ran 402 the mile. He still has it, and he was
high school.
He had
he still has the mile.
He still has the high school mile record, 402 in New York.
402 in New York.
Wow.
And
he two-time Olympian. He
held the American record in a 5K. Like, he was like, people just think Matt Centrich of his son, but Matty Centrich Sr. was a stud.
Yeah, absolutely. And and is just as good of a coach too, which isn't always easy, right? It's not always easy to be good and also coach. So I want to ask you that. Is your future, like, obviously, like, you're going to run until you can't because you're still one of the best runners in the world. And I think that's really cool to be able to say that you are actively one of the best marathoners, half marathoners on the planet. When all is said and done, is coaching in the cards, or are you just going to go back to being mom and doing something else, running the running store, things like that? Like, has any of that been a thought, or are you just in racing mode still, not thinking about that?
I want running to be part of my life, and I hope to compete. I'll see how long I can compete, but there will be a time where, I'm not going to be on the same level. So I don't know what that next move is, but I know that for me, helping people and inspiring and encouraging people to get, find their own best is like really important to me. So I don't know how exactly I'm going to do that quite yet, but I do plan on being in this sport for a while.
I'm pitching Keira and 10 Cent podcast right today. When the Keira and 10 Cent podcast weekly show where you guys pull your connections and talk to the greatest runners, current, past, present. Steal our show. I don't care. Just go be successful.
No, that's cool. When the drives down to Provo is about an hour, I'm like, we should just be recording this and make this into a podcast because this is hilarious. These stories are so funny.
So
go, Dave.
So I was talking to my buddy this week. He thinks, and I completely disagree, that the U.S. distance domination at the Paris Olympics was a blip, and that we're going to go right back to where we were. I think we're at a different level now in this trend because of all these running groups and people running together and people overseas. Where do you think we are as a distance, as a country? Because I think we're in damn good shape, and that Olympics was amazing.
I think we're in incredible shape too. I think this was an incredible Olympics. But I also think that those athletes that medaled or were top 8 or that, had ran their best at the Olympics just showed like a roadmap to other athletes on how to get there. Kenneth Rooks is coached under my same coach right now. And
Ed Eyestone, shout out to him. BYU double champs. NCAA. A great runner in his own right, but what a coach. He's produced legendary.
Arguably, Kenneth Rooks was the fastest guy at nationals this year, and he didn't even compete. Like, he's so fast. Like, he was just there to support. And arguably, he would still get on there and probably would, give Graham Blanks a run.
Oh my God. but he's still involved with the team and inspiring and helping and encouraging. And I think from what he's learned and how he's reached those heights, he's hopefully going to pass that on to the next generation of athletes. And I think that, there's the high schoolers at home that just watch, Cole and Grant and
Yard and Goose coming in the third, 3 more seconds, get second,
or running a 141 American record and not medaling.
Yeah,
ridiculous,
crazy.
So I think that they're watching that, and I think, So I don't think it was a blip.
I don't either. And
it was a long time coming.
You can tell because every year we're having 3 or 4 kids breaking 4 minutes in high school now. Like we're just on a different level than we've been ever, and I'm all here for it. And I want to see because we are now at where we can compete in the distance with anybody in the world, and it's amazing. Maybe not yet marathons yet. We're still a little off there,
We're catching up. We're trying.
We are. I mean, sure. You have guys and girls running phenomenal times. I just love
we have some work to do in the marathon, but
it has never been this like from a distance. Like we've always had our sprinters, but now it's nice to watch and say, hey, Grant Fisher, he's got a shot to win this. Not only medal, to win this, And he ran them 2 different ways. The 10K went out. Like he's learning how to run. It's just beautiful. And you are a huge part of this whole boom.
Why the hell aren't you in the Grand Slam? Put you in the 10K. Damn it! I don't care for name recognition. Let's go.
I don't think MJ doing. I think I have to drop down to the 3 and the 5.
It's a 3 and a 5 because they have
that'd be awesome.
I think I think the people that they have in that are much more suited towards the event. I learned this summer, I'm like, I should stick to the roads. So if they ever make a road event attached to the Grand Slam,
there you go.
Grand Slam roads, I would in a heartbeat sign up to do that. But
here's a question. So speaking of that, when you go roads, is it hard to go back? Like, do you have to make the choice that you're just going to race roads, or is it easy to kind of go back and forth?
For me, roads are really easy. Going to track is hard for me because I think switching from the Vaporfly and Alphafly going to the Dragonfly, even though the Dragonfly I think is a spike on the market, but it's still a very different ride.
Sure.
And I'm used to a lot more cushion, and
the aggression is very different that you're going to get on the foot, like the arch, and how they're putting you, your body angle and things like that.
Yeah. So I was able to work my way up, and I got really comfortable in them, but it was definitely just a little tougher on my body. And running 25 laps is a lot of pounding. So it would take me 2 or 3 days just to recover.
Yeah.
Be able to run healthy after that. And I was always worried after a track race, if I came back too soon, things that came up in the race would kind of pop up. So it's I had to be extra careful with recovery after track races. So
yeah, because I was wondering why more people don't go roads, because from an outsider, I don't know the ins and outs. It seems like there's a lot more money running road races than there is on the track for maybe not your top level, but for everybody involved, there's a lot more money.
There's more wealth to be spread around.
On roads than there is on the track. So
absolutely.
I was always
more money in the roads. I think for your average runner, absolutely. But I think
there's a cachet, I guess, for running on the track. I think
also I don't know. It's in growing up as a track athlete and having all those goals, and the Olympics or
so that's the thing I was going to say.
World Championships is so much. So I think your exposure in those world class events
very different.
Very, very different.
So the last question I want to ask you before I give you the true last question, but this popped into my head. What was the difference between your training, your nutrition, your sleep, how you took care of yourself pre-hiatus as opposed to when you got serious, got a coach again, and got, signed by Nike post-hiatus? Was there a major difference in how you were sleeping, how you were eating, how you were, obviously your training changed, but was there a huge difference from college you to, pro you?
Or even as you've aged, you had to change all those things?
Yeah, I think I've been way more intentional. And I think I've learned too, everything in moderation. I remember in college, before a big race, I'd be okay, I'm not going to have Rice Krispie treats the week leading into a race. And now I'll eat a Rice Krispie treat the night before the race, that's fine. So, but I think also I'm very careful. I know what my body, if I'm on a run and I'm lightheaded, then I'm okay, I didn't have enough carbs. Yep. Or if I start getting really dizzy or bonking, then it's lack of protein. So it's I can kind of tell what I need. I do Inside Tracker every quarter.
Okay.
That is a blood panel where they tell you all of your results. And so I'm monitor very carefully.
Smart.
Yeah, so like my iron typically is pretty low, my vitamin D is pretty low, but I keep an eye on that and I'm like actively trying to get those higher. So I feel like I'm a little bit more intentional with that, but then I just know more. And I don't know. And also just being 40 is different than, when you're 20 and like living out of a college dorm, like now, like,
you have wisdom.
Your options are better. You don't have to go to the calf.
You know what it is?
It's make your own food.
It's wisdom, and you have some money to where you can actually get things to actually help you. You
don't have to get McDonald's. You can go to whatever your local farmers market is and get a little bit of a healthier
or the dining hall. You don't have to go there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely a blessing. So, so I think a lot has changed. I mean, I'm sleeping a lot more now than I was then. And I think like with kids, they keep me in a really good routine because I'm going to bed pretty much the same time every night, getting up. Yeah.
Thanks for staying up for us. We appreciate it.
No. So no. It's 7 o'clock here, or now it's 8 o'clock here. So
okay.
This is all good. But, so I think that's kind of helped, but a lot has changed and I feel like I just know more. So
sure.
There's wisdom with it. So the last question I want to ask you before we get out of here, and we kind of touched on a bunch of it in the middle of the conversation, but I want you to iron down an exact thing. If you had a magic wand and you could do something about the sport of athletics, track, marathoning, whatever, and change it so that athletes like yourself are going to get paid properly and we're going to get more casual fans in, what would you change? What would you do?
That's a really good question. It's funny. I thought you were going to ask like, what would you change about the sport? And I was going to try to like get more people into it. Cause I think if more people,
we load the question up.
I know. Well, and maybe that's part of it too. Like if more people ran and were watching and supporting, then there would be more like funds to support everyone.
Yeah.
But that's a really good question. What would I change? I mean, I do think marathoning does it really well. Like I think the world majors, particularly, I think, but you get one, maybe two of them a year. So that's a little different, but oh my gosh, that's a really tough. Is there a multiple choice?
Well, we've had
David, you could do this now, Dave. I usually stop you from doing it, but you go ahead, give the suggestions. You
multiple
love it.
Choice.
Sarah Slattery was on and she said, put it on FanDuel and DraftKings and have betting. Obviously, like before MJ's league, people would say, hey, we need a league where, people can know that this person's going to run at this meet. And
Eric Sawinski said multiple sponsors, allowing sponsors to be all over your back, maybe the same, maybe one on the front that they say. But he said if he was allowed to just get a whole bunch of small sponsors, throw him on his back, he'd be fine. He'd be able to train. He'd be able to eat. He'd be okay because he can go into his town and they know who he is. And they would all give him, especially if they were getting marketing, because he's for 3 years, he's the most important guy in track. He's the greatest pacer. One of the greatest pacers of all time. The guy just paces records. So I think something like that would be valuable, especially in a marathon. Could you imagine if you're winning the marathon and on the front you're single, but on the back is all different sponsors? Like
that'd be incredible.
Yeah,
you'd be a NASCAR car.
Like Joe's Auto Shop is going to give you $6,000 to like wear their patch, But
you're wearing it, and what you're wearing at the New York Marathon or Boston or one of these major ones, like
And the other big one that we all have connection with is being able to find it on TV and not have it behind a paywall. Like, and now it's going to Flow Track, the Diamond League. So like everything or Peacock, like everything's got to be paid. Like, can we have it like other sports where I can just press channel up and oh my god, there's a track meet on? And
we're streaming for free to YouTube, Facebook, and X, and there's no reason why they can't be on Twitch. There's no reason why they can't be on these major spots where the kids go to too, right? Go on TikTok. TikTok has a live.
Well, that's
why that's where they should be.
Yeah, I love the New Balance because they do all their high school meets free on YouTube. But we need more of that. We need more, but it shouldn't be on YouTube. It should be on TV.
Well, that's what I like. So when you guys started saying it, that's where my mind went, is more marketing around. So more more coverage through ESPN or more social media, more people telling our stories, just more attention, more marketing. And I think that would bring more sponsors which would, kind of help everyone. So I think the more people telling the stories, like Cities Mag and what you guys are doing is awesome because you're trying stories, you're getting like the word out there. And I think that really, really helps. But the more accessible it can be, I think.
And I think this year was huge. And but I also love, the athletes are a lot more prominent on social media, and that helps. I love all these little beefs, like these sprinters talking trash, or Jakob with a Kerr, like that's what sports.
So
need.
Keira, what do you have to say about Des Linden right now? No, I'm kidding. Started here.
Real weird. Like I've seen her, she just bites it. She doesn't even go she doesn't break it and then eat it. She just bites it. And that
what did she just bite? What is it?
a Kit Kat bar. She just goes for it. I don't know. That's a little weird if you ask me.
I love it. Good. Then we start a rivalry and we need to sit there. And right before you guys toe the line at the next race you're at, you should hand her a Kit Kat bar and just be like, show everyone how you eat this.
I don't know. Like I think it takes a real special person to eat a Kit Kat bar like that. And it's like envious of it because I'm like too much of a real follower. So I really like respect that. But it's also
that is savage. That is savage.
No, but I'm saying like because people tuned in to watch Jakob race Kerr. You know, it was like, oh, because
he'll win.
Yeah, you know, and then like no, but and Sprint was great. I have to watch season 2, but season 1 was great.
It was, and I think maybe like distance, you know, they have Sprint.
I think Jakob has a documentary that's out there somewhere. I don't know if it's available here, but he has something where him and his brothers trained, like it was going over their training, and
that's real cool.
You know, but again, like the fact that you got to pay for it sucks.
Well,
like,
Clayton Young has his YouTube series, and that's awesome.
Right.
That's like a real big insight. And I think if more like companies did that, or Netflix started following more athletes like that, I think that would be and it doesn't even have to be at Netflix. I think the more marketing, the more stories, the more we can tell about the sport, I think more people would be interested.
And
so Darren Peters,
track's great
real quick, Dave, Darren Peters comes in. Grand Slam track is struggling to negotiate a TV network and will be on their YouTube. So here's the thing, and Darren, appreciate the comment. It's now imperative on people like us three and everybody in the running athletics community, whether you're a thrower and you're kind of spurned or not, to then blast this out to all social media, because between everyone that is involved in sports, it can't just be, you know, Sidious writing something about it. And it needs to be like, I don't care if you're good at social media or not, just go find it and repost it. Like it's that simple. Reposting it, sharing it on Facebook, all of your socials, when you go seek it out, when you know it's happening, and share it. And that will have a massive effect, because that also the algorithm work. YouTube is all algorithm. So if enough people push it, if enough people like it, if enough people comment, you know, that's where we live. We're on YouTube. The better comments that we get, the more likes we get, pushes us up the algorithm. And we need to now make a real conscious effort. And Grand Slam, if they fail to negotiate a TV deal, needs to be on top of this and also saying that. But
because the casual fans are not going to go to YouTube.
Yes, they will. 100%. Yes, the kids will. The kids,
they're not going to the kids, but they're not going to know it's there. Like if it's on TV, you can watch as a family. Like people aren't. I mean,
see, Dave, I think this is where the disconnect is. I do think this is where the disconnect is. Your high school kid doesn't care about TV. Your high school kid does not care. They care about Netflix. They care about Hulu, Paramount, Apple, YouTube, TikTok. So when you're talking to the high school kids, who are the ones that we want, right? Because when you have kids and college people in 20s watching it, that's why NASCAR is so popular. It's not because of the old heads. It's because you could convince high school kids to watch 500 miles of Daytona in every race that year and love the intricacies of it. And I think YouTube's a smart move.
Could be, yeah.
But you can also, you know, I think they also need to expand. But thank you, Darren, for that.
Thank you.
And I think it's imperative upon all of us to do our part now. And Keira, I love that you're doing your part by being freaking awesome on the track all the time and coming on the show. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for having me. It was great talking to you guys.
Yes, it was an absolute privilege. If you want to go follow her on X, on Instagram, just at Keira D'Amato, Keira. I can't speak. And you can go on there and follow her. If you want to follow us, just go search Talking in Ovals. You'll see the logo. We are there. We appreciate everyone that watched, everyone that's listening to this on podcast form. Make sure you give us a review, 5 stars. And like I said, help us get up the algorithm. That would be nice, damn it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching.